Next topic is resource matching. So here we're going to talk about how you can create RESTful resources using path annotation. And then we're going to learn how you can associate a particular method with these get, post, put, delete HTTP method annotations. And then we are going to see how we can build RESTful applications step by step. And then we are going to learn the concept of sub-resource locator. First, creating a resource using path annotation. So how you can create a root resource class. So basically you're gonna use the add path annotation to create a root resource. That is in fact the starting point of your resource. Okay? The base URI is the application context, which is the identification of your particular application. So if your server have multiple applications, each of those applications should have application context. Basically, it's the name of your application. And then the path annotation that you have on your the root resource class should be used to access that resource. And then you're going to use this get, put, post, delete annotations to specify which method is going to handle get request, put request, post request, and delete request. So let's see an example. So suppose I have a class called the widgets resource, and here I have this path annotation widget. So this is a class that will handle any request that has this URL. So here http example.com/catalog. So catalog is the application context, meaning this is the identification of your application running on the server. Then widget. So this widgets, because it's specified in the class level widget, this widget resource class will be used to handle this get request. Okay, the first one. Now inside this class we have a two method. One is get list and the other one is called the get widget. Now this get list doesn't have its own path while get widget has its own path. So when the method has its own path, the path will be concatenated. So in this case, get list method will be handling this URL /widget. However, the get widget method will be handling this URL. So we have a widget and / some kind of number. This curly brace ID we're going to actually talk about later on. Basically, it will take the whatever value after widget as a variable. So in this case, the widget resource is a root resource class, and then we have a two method. Both of these methods handle HTTP GET, and in terms of the URL, whenever method has a path, that will be concatenated. Does this slide make sense? It's pretty straightforward, I hope. Okay, moving forward. So HTTP method annotation. So we just saw an example of using get annotation, and obviously you can actually use post and put and delete annotations to specify a particular method is handling a particular HTTP method. So these are the set of methods you can actually use: get, put, post, and delete, and head. Head is basically a method that will just receive the information only on the header. Okay, so it doesn't take a look at the contents of the body. So the method on resources, so here let's say we have an employee root resource class, and it's taking employee's URL, and then we have get and post method, get and create. So in this case, basically, this method, get method, will handle get request, and create method will handle post request. On the bottom we have get, update, and delete, and each of these methods will handle get request, put request, and delete request. By the way, Java method themselves do not really matter. What's important is these annotations. Okay, even though it is recommended practice that you make your name of your method to be reflecting the operations you are performing. So you do not want to actually use this get method to do handle the delete HTTP method and things like that. So to make sure your code is more readable, make sure that you're using the method names to be reflecting HTTP request, even though it doesn't have to be syntax wise. Okay, so this is the same slide we have seen before, right? Okay, so the creating a single new item, reading multiple items, reading a single item, and update an item and delete an item. Again, this is something we have seen already as well. So in this case, we are dealing not only a single resource, we are dealing two resources, customer resource as well as order resources. And again, this is the same thing that we have seen in previous slide to show you that it doesn't have to be just the CRUD operations. It could be something average sale computation, which is non-CRUD operations, and it's a matter of having that average sale as after the orders URL pattern. Okay, so we're gonna do exercise 1. So let's take a look at the lab documentation and let's read. I already unzipped the file, so that is oh, looks like I didn't. Okay, so labs and oh, resource matching, I did that. Okay, oh, so this is the one, and get the index.html lab documentation. And exercise 1 is basically the simple resource patching, resource matching. So we have Jackstatus resource simple application. You're going to just import it and we're going to actually run the application. In exercise 2, we're going to actually build it step by step. Okay, so for now, let's take a look at the exercise 1, in which we are going to run this simple application. So again, here you might want to run as and the Maven install, and then you're going to actually run the application. Okay. Okay, so it's built, and then I'm going to run as and run on server and choose Tomcat and restart the server, and then we should be able to see the browser popping up with a very simple URIs. Okay, so we should be able to access hello world. So it says hello world, and then hello world / morning, it says good morning, and hello world afternoon URI, it says good afternoon. So if you take a look at the code, it is relatively straightforward. So first of all, let's take a look at the resource, hello resource, the Java. So you can see we have the root path hello world, and then we have 3 methods, hello world, say greeting 1, say greeting 2, and all these methods are handling get request, right? And then we have another path called the morning. So this method will handle hello world / morning, and this will handle hello world / afternoon. And if you want to actually add another one, so you can just copy this guy and here, and let's say greeting 3, and we're gonna say how about evening. In fact, I think this is for your own exercise, and we'll say good evening, something like that, and save the change. And Tomcat will actually detect the change, and it will rebuild it and redeploy the application. So we should be able to just go to this URL, and here we are going to refresh it. And so here we should be able to say what is the URL that we have used? Evening. Okay, so we should be able to say evening, and then oops, evening. Yeah, let me see. Evening. Yeah, that is actually correct. And let's see, and it's actually redeployed. Let me just copy this guy. And oh yeah, what is missing is actually resources. Yes, so I'm going to talk about these resources. Okay, so let's actually go to, in fact, the this one, hello world. You can see is in fact resources, right? So we have to actually have the resources base path, and then hello world, and then we should be able to say evening like this, and you can say now you see it responds with good evening. Okay, so let's actually take a look at the source code. So we just did this, and we just did that and studied the code. So here, let me actually explain a few things that make up RESTful application. And here in the exercise 2, you can actually build from from scratch. Okay, first, pom.xml file. So this is a Maven project. So pom.xml file basically specify the dependencies. So the Servlet API is actually coming from the server, in this case Tomcat, so the scope is provided. And then we have Jersey container, Servlet core, Jersey container, Servlet, and Jackson. We are not actually using XML and the JSON at this point. This is actually for generating JSON. So we don't actually use it, so you don't have to have this guy, right? And but in general, I actually use the same dependencies for all sample applications. Okay, so basically we are having this Jersey specific libraries as part of the WAR file. Okay, and then this is JUnit. So that is basically just dependencies. Okay, and here we are using 1.7 JDK, and that's actually pom.xml file. And then the next one I want you to take a look at is the resource file. That is actually something that we just saw, right? And then there is in fact the what is called the application subclass. This one we're going to actually talk about in detail later on when we talk about the deployment. So here you have to have a class which is an extension of application class. Application class is from class is from the REST JAX-RS, and here you specify the base URI. Okay, so that's the reason we have to actually specify the the resources. If I change this guy to resources 2, so let's actually see whether I'm going to actually change it to resources 2, and let's see whether it actually, okay, so it's redeployed, and then we actually should use resources 2 now. So here, in order to access it, if I try to access resources, then it's not going to work. Okay, for error, so I have to say resources 2. Okay, now it worked. So in application path annotation is used to specify the base URI, is the starting URI. So that is actually concatenated with your classes. So here now I have to actually have resources 2 / hello world. Okay. So this one actually provided two purposes. One is to specify the base URI using application path, and also here, by extending application class, you're asking JAX-RS runtime system to scan your class path to find all resources. So it will actually go through all the classes and see whether there are any classes annotated with a path annotation. Okay, so in fact, if you don't do this, if I actually not extending this class, something like this, then it will not work. Okay, so let's actually try this. So it's rebuilt. Now if I try to access it, it's not going to work. Okay, so that is actually another purpose having this application subclass. You always have extends and application class. Okay, now save the change, and then if I refresh the page, then it should work again. Okay, it does work again. So we're gonna actually again talk about these things in more detail in the deployment presentation. Maybe we don't have the time to do this one during this two-day code camp. So two purposes having this my application file: to let you specify the base URI, and also by extending application built-in class, you're asking JAX-RS runtime to scan your class path to find all resources. Okay, you can certainly create another resource. So here, let me actually create another resource. I'm going to just copy this guy, copy and paste, and hello resource 2. That's fine. So hello resource 2, and I'm gonna just say hello resource 2, and I can just have the same thing. Morning 2. How about that? Morning 2, afternoon 2, and evening 2. Just make sure we are actually having different resources being accessed. Okay. All right. Hello world 2 here. Okay. Now, because the resource is gonna be actually scanned, we should be able to actually access hello resources too. Okay, so let's actually see whether that works. Okay, so here we are going to see resources hello world 2, right? Okay, yeah. So and evening 2. Oops. Okay. Was that the correct URI? Evening 2, hello 2, hello world 2, and evening 2. Okay. All right, so sometimes I have to actually restart the application, rebuild the application. So let me actually run as and run on server. Sometimes Tomcat is not intelligent enough to deploy the change. Okay, so it's being deployed. Okay, so it's deployed. Okay, so I'm going to just select the morning. Oops. Oh, resources 2, because we changed it, right? Resources 2. Okay, so now what we want to do is now hello world, since we actually added the new resources, hello world 2, morning 2, and yeah, so morning 2 is being displayed. And if I say evening 2, evening 2. So you can tell by having different resource files just being added, because we are extending applications, we are asking JAXS runtime to scan the class path. Yeah, so that's the reason, in fact, we have to restart the application, because the scanning happens just once, okay, at the time of the application startup, right? So even though we have added new resources, because scanning has not been done automatically, we have to restart the application. Okay, so that is a resource file, and we just talk about the my application subclass, and then the next one is web.xml file. So web.xml file, you still have to have it. Even though web.xml file in this case is kind of dummy app web.xml file, it doesn't do anything, right? The only thing it does, in fact, is just the accessing index.jsp file. So this web.xml file does not really serve any purpose, except that this is the web application. So you basically have to have a web.xml file. If you don't, the application will not be considered as a web application. And then we have index.jsp file, just to provide the link to access the URL. Okay, so that's index.html file. Okay. All right, so for your own exercise, add a new method. Yeah, so that's basically what I did, right? And you can certainly modify the index.jsp file if you want to, or you can just access it using changing the URL. And do some experimentation. Remove get annotation and then try to access it and see what happens. Change the value of path to morning XYZ and try to access it and see what happens. Change get to put and try to see whether that can that can be accessed. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you guys about the 10 minutes for exercise 1.